This year's British Grand Prix was full of twists and turns, as Carlos Sainz managed to capitalize on his maiden pole by also winning the race in spectacular fashion. However, his first victory was kinda tarnished by a disgruntled Charles Leclerc, who felt that he'd been treated unfairly by the team. So from Schumacher's first points to Hamilton's insane double overtake, here's everything that went down during a thrilling race weekend at Silverstone. First up, Carlos Sainz finally claims his first F1 win. Carlos Sainz has had a strange trajectory through Formula 1. On one hand, he's been one of the most promising talents in the sport for quite some time, but at the same time, things just haven't worked out as well for him as his former Toro Rosso teammate Max Verstappen. Oh, and let's not forget, the Spaniard is the son of motorsport legend and two-time World Rally champion Carlos Sainz Sr., so he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. With that said, no one really doubted his talent, and that sweet first win was always a matter of when and not if. But obviously, when you're 10 races into the season and your teammates already won a bunch of races, pressure starts to mount up. Thankfully, Silverstone always comes up with some of the most unpredictable races of the season, so the 27-year-old's victory was kinda written in the stars. Not only was he the quickest during quali, but also looked on fire during the race. And while he didn't have the best of starts for the first time around, a red flag for that massive Turn 1 crash meant that he could have another go at defending his line. The flying Spaniard squeezed Verstappen through Turn 1, and from that point, it was basically smooth sailing for him. Well, at least that's what he thought, until a charging Charles Leclerc caught up to him. Now, at that point in the race, he kinda had to let his teammate pass through as the Monegasque was much faster, but everything changed when Esteban Ocon parked his Alpine on the old pit straight and triggered a safety car. However, it was the perfect timing for Sainz, as he could pit for softs and gain track position, especially after the Scuderia didn't bring his teammate in for a stop. So, after the safety car restart, no one even came close to the Spaniard as he opened up a gap behind him and cleared the checkered flag for his maiden race victory. Up next, Sainz expresses his delight after the race win. It's always a big deal when a driver wins his first race, but it's an even bigger deal when they do it right after scoring their first pole position. And for Sainz, it was a string of good omens that aligned together to bring him to this triumph. Like for starters, this was the Spaniard's 150th start in Formula 1. However, what's even more fascinating is the fact that this is his first Formula racing victory also comes at Silverstone back when he was a teenager in Formula 3. Plus, he kinda grew up racing in England, so in a way, it was always meant to be. And the 27-year-old didn't hold back on his emotions after the race. According to him, just the fact that it had to be Silverstone and with a team like Ferrari meant the world to him. On top of that, it's not like he just cruised to the finish line, because the threat of charging Hamilton was more than enough to throw anyone off their game. Also, let's not forget that Sainz was struggling with the balance of the car before the safety car, which meant that he had to stay patient and wait for the perfect opportunity to strike. What a masterclass of a drive it was, though, as he once again proved why he's one of the best on the grid when it comes to pure racecraft. All he needed was to overcome this one hurdle, and after this win, we're sure that his confidence level would have skyrocketed. But Charles Leclerc wasn't pleased with his treatment. Now, as they say, one man's loss is another man's gain. So while Sainz was ecstatic with his maiden race win and partying like there's no tomorrow, a disappointed Charles Leclerc was trying to figure out what went wrong during his race. The Monegasque didn't even manage to finish on the podium despite having an incredible race pace, which, by the way, he hasn't done for over 2 months now. What's hurtful for him, however, was the fact that none of his bad results have come as a result of his mistakes. Like, he's been super consistent week after week, securing pole positions and driving the wheels off that Ferrari during races. But it seems like his team just can't stop letting him down, as it was, once again, another horrendous strategy call from the Scuderia that left him defenseless after the safety car restart. For context, Charles Leclerc was in the lead of the race when Ocon parked up his car, and Ferrari had a ton of time to call him into the pits and switch him over to the faster soft tires. However, for some bizarre reason, they decided to leave him out, which meant that he'd been fighting a losing battle against cars on faster strategies. And that's exactly what happened as both Perez and Hamilton overtook him for the last 2 podium places. Now, despite having worse tires and a broken front wing end plate, the 23-year-old still somehow managed to put in a stunning effort to fight back. But again, you just can't compete with that sort of pace disadvantage. Now, Binotto explains his reasoning behind Leclerc's strategy call. Of course, after the race, all fingers were pointing towards the Ferrari strategy team, who, once again, managed to disappoint their #1 driver. In fact, Binotto even told Leclerc to not look so sad after the race, which obviously wasn't gonna happen. And according to the Monegasque, it just sucked to give your absolute, only to get nothing in return. However, the 23-year-old did say that he didn't want to ruin his teammate's maiden victory by being so bitter, but it is what it is. According to Ferrari team boss Mattia Binotto, however, the call to leave Leclerc out on track was, believe it or not, a strategic one. Apparently, they didn't want to lose track position against a Red Bull or Mercedes, so decided to stay on the hard tires instead. With that said, if you've even got a semblance of F1 knowledge, you'd know that track position doesn't really matter on a track like Silverstone, since there are a ton of places to overtake. So we're not sure if we actually buy the Ferrari boss's explanation. After that, let's shift our focus towards Hamilton's incredible race. Okay, let's face it, Mercedes has been pretty bad so far this season, especially in comparison to the incredibly high bar that they've set for themselves. However, it's not like they haven't been improving at all. As a matter of fact, that W13 has actually started to look like a competitive car over the past few weeks. So with Lewis Hamilton Hamilton rocked up to his home Grand Prix, we knew that he was going to be super fast. After all, he's not known as the king of Silverstone for no reason. Like, the man literally won a race there on 3 wheels a couple of years ago. And boy, was he fast this time around too. Seriously, the 7-time world champion reminded everyone why he's considered the greatest of all time by consistently putting in the fastest lap times. Also, that insane move to overtake both Leclerc and Perez through a single turn will probably be remembered for years to come. So after that incredible performance, yet another podium finish was just the cherry on top for him. And finally, Mick Schumacher finally gets his first F1 points. Mick Schumacher's been under a ton of pressure this season. Like, not only is he being outpaced by his more experienced teammate Kevin Magnussen week in and week out, but he's also failed to score a single point so far. Oh, and those massive crashes at Monaco and Saudi Arabia don't look very flattering on the German CV either. With that said though, it's not like he's been slow or anything. In fact, he's managed to outperform his car multiple times this season. It's just that he's been super unlucky so far. For instance, he was on his way to securing an easy top 10 finish in Baku earlier this year, but an engine failure ruled him out of the race. But then again, when you've got the pace and talent, then it's only a matter of time until you actually produce a result, and that's exactly what Mick did as he raced his heart out at Silverstone and nabbed a very impressive P8 finish. Oh, and he was only a couple of tenths behind Verstappen, who had to get his elbows out to push the German off the track. So yeah, he was literally trading blows with the reigning F1 champion in a Haas, which obviously would have done a world of good for his confidence. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that Leclerc is being handicapped by Ferrari's incompetence? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one!